While I am gone, my number one, Ensign Tilly, will be in charge. I have every confidence in her.
In the latest Star Trek Discovery episode, specifically Sukal, the USS Discovery is captured by the Emerald Chain, and the episode ends with things looking extremely dire. However, I wanted to take a step back and analyze the entire scenario. In fact, this episode shows how Osira outwitted not only the Discovery, but the CIC of Starfleet. Things are a lot worse than most realize. While technically the only thing we observe is ultimately the command failure of Ensign Tilly, the Emerald Chain was able to completely play Admiral Vance for a fool and put all of Starfleet on its back foot. Let's just break it down. I know the tired trope is to say that Discovery writers don't care or aren't good at what they do, but Season 3 has really seemed to prove that they can create something really good. I've not found someone who says the writing is bad and has actually watched the entire series up to now. Point of order, there is some pretty good writing in the latest episode of Discovery. When you break it down, the Emerald Chain really played its hand brilliantly and has caught Starfleet with its pants down. Think about it. After several Starfleet operations hurt the Emerald Chain, Osira really wanted to hit back. So she begins quote-unquote military exercises, which puts Starfleet on high alert. With tensions the way they are, she then appears to threaten Kaminar, looking like she's going to try to control the planet, or even destroy it. Because typical operating procedure of the Emerald Chain is to threaten the homeworlds of their true targets, Admiral Vance assumes that it is Saru she is trying to get to, that she wants to bait the Discovery into coming to save the planet. In an attempt not to fall into this trap, Admiral Vance orders that the Discovery stay away from the planet and in fact tells them to go look at the distress signal. On top of this, Starfleet orders additional vessels and other assets to defend Kaminar, leaving Starfleet headquarters in a more vulnerable position. Now, with the Starfleet out of position and Discovery on its own and undefended, the real trap is sprung. Osira just needs to find the wayward vessel and capture it. Not only is she going to get the spore drive, but Starfleet headquarters won't be at full strength when they arrive. It is brilliant. In my last upload, I talked about how it takes several minor mistakes to make a major catastrophe occur. This shows just that. We see mistakes from the Starfleet CIC down on how we would have gotten here. Now with that analyzed, let's take a look at the blunder that is Ensign Tilly's command.
Where's the captain?
I'm acting captain.
The Kelpian left you in charge.
Damn straight. Kind of busy right now, so could you get to the point?
I will start off by saying that when it comes to Tilly being given actual command of the ship, it is somewhat contrived. I love Tilly, I think she is command material, but her being the captain is kind of out there. Though that said, this is commonplace for Trek. In TNG and Deep Space Nine, we have junior officers getting command gigs, temporarily or permanently.
Ship's log supplemental. Lieutenant LaForge in command. I am unable to beam up the away team due to an unseen assailant attacking the ship. To make matters worse, Chief Engineer Logan is on his way to the bridge, and he's not paying a courtesy call.
For instance, Lieutenant Junior Grade LaForge is given command of the Enterprise. In Arsenal of Freedom, LaForge is trying to fight a cloaked object while it is slowly destroying the Enterprise. The longer he stays, the more everyone on board has a higher chance of being killed. He opts not to leave the system in an attempt to try and save the landing party, which includes Data, Riker, Picard, and Crusher. He is even challenged by a superior officer while in command. In fact, that superior officer demands that command be relinquished to him. Geordi declines and orders the higher-ranking officer back to their station so he can figure out how to save everyone. Worf is also given tactical when he's still a lieutenant junior grade. And remember, there are other higher-ranked officers before him that could have taken it. We also had Ensign Mayweather in Cold Front being given command and Ensign Kim heading the night shift. So again, lower-ranking officers getting command isn't exactly something out of the norm, though for how long she is given command, it does feel a little odd.
Captain, long-range sensors have picked up a ship approaching. It's Federation.
Getting back to the command mistakes though, while the away team with the captain is ongoing and the Discovery is attempting to repair their shields so they can go back and save them, a vessel appears on sensors and begins transmitting the appropriate friend or foe challenge codes for a Federation vessel. Everyone finds this very odd. Tilly does the smart thing and instead of scanning the vessel directly, scans the space around it. They're able to determine that it's not a Starfleet vessel, that it is in fact an enemy one. Tilly also is able to deduce that it's likely Osira looking for dilithium and the Discovery. At this point, every action she takes from here on out, in my opinion, is a tactical mistake. The most obvious answer is to utilize the spore drive to retreat back to Starfleet headquarters. The lives of the captain, Michael, and Hugh are not worth that of the spore drive on Discovery. Remember, they don't know that the survivor is basically a walking dilithium nuke. They just know that there's a survivor there, and that survivor's life, again, is not worth the Discovery. So her staying there is the wrong choice. But let's say she doesn't want to retreat just yet. She doesn't want to give up the lives of her crew so easily. Okay, fine. At this point, they have no reason to believe that Osira knows about the away mission, that there's anyone off the vessel. We also know that the Emerald Chain doesn't have dilithium in spades. So let's play cat and mouse. Order the Discovery to warp away and keep it just a tick below the maximum warp of Osira's vessel. When the vessel gets too close, bring it 3 ticks above what Osira's top warp is. When Osira gets too far away, drop it back down. In fact, make a big dog and pony show of it. Tech your systems to make it look like you attempted to use the spore drive, but that failed. Lead Osira sufficiently far enough away from the dilithium nursery, and then use the spore drive to go back to where Discovery can safely get the survivors. Beam the survivors up, Bob's your aunt, Mary's your uncle, spore drive home, win the day. Now, let's assume that Osira's ship can match or beat the Discovery when it comes to warp. Discovery was built in the original series era, even with the upgrades after all. Okay, fine, we're going to use the spore drive. As soon as Osira arrives, do a micro jump far enough away out of her weapons range, but close enough that she can get back to you. Again, dog and pony show it. Make it look like the spore drive is failing. When she gets close, do it again. Get her far enough away, rinse and repeat. Let's say that she doesn't take the bait and stays at the nursery. At this point, it's time to return. Again, lives of the away team are not worth that of the spore drive.
We had the ability to cloak since the retrofit, right?
Yes, but we can't jump while cloaked. If anything happens,
One crisis at a time. Do it.
However, as everyone knows, that's not how all this turns out. Ensign Tilly decides to cloak her vessel instead, and apparently Osira can do the same. It doesn't make much sense that they both cloak, but I guess Federation technology having cloak does make sense at this point. There is some back and forth with Osira, some tit for tat, which I did really enjoy. I do think Tilly is captain material, that she one day would be a great captain, and this shows that. She keeps up with the crime syndicate boss. It's just, she's making a major mistake, and so it takes away from the gravitas of this back and forth. Anyway, thanks to the Child of Destruction, a wave of big badness hits both Osira and the Discovery. In order to prevent the destruction of the vessel, both ships have to purge their dilithium reserves and go on backup power. It never clearly states what this means, but at a minimum, the warp core is probably taken offline and they're running on batteries. Worst case, they've had to get rid of all their dilithium. Either way, we now have lost main power for the ship, and warp drive is no longer an option. Tilly soon realizes she needs to use the spore drive, but unfortunately she waited too long. Osira beams over a boarding party. I have to be honest, I am really tired of how bad at security Starfleet is. It's nothing new that people are able to get on board without being detected and there are no guards to stop them. The original series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise all have this issue. Almost every single series does this. I am more irked at the entirety of the franchise than I am at Discovery at this point. I mean, again, they are at red alert with the most important piece of technology the Federation has, and no security around it. No security protocols upon security protocols to prevent it being taken. Where is this advanced AI that is good for movie nights helping them defend their home? Why isn't it doing something? Also, they beam past the shields, which hopefully that'll be explained in the next episode. Now, to be fair, the AI could be waiting for the proper time to attack or be used, but the security issue is just frustrating. The last piece I will say is that I think the second time Tilly isn't able to get a hold of Stamets, she should have ordered a complete alpha strike on Osira's ship. She can't warp, Stamets isn't responding, it's time to either destroy Osira or be destroyed by her. A self-destruct takes too long, so just fire all weapons and let God sort out the rest. But she doesn't. And Osyraa takes Discovery without firing a shot, and is able to use Stamets to get back to the Federation. Unless there is some super secret long game that Tilly is playing, this was a complete catastrophe. I'm sure people will tell Tilly that it's not her fault in the next episode, but they're lying. It most certainly is. She can only hope for redemption to make this mistake right. She had all kinds of ways not to let this happen, and she failed. I'm going to end this way, though. I would often get challenged and asked, how would I write this? Many would call what we have here bad writing. It's honestly just standard Trek writing, but whatever. How would I write it to make more sense and make Tilly not the idiot? If it were me, this is how I would have written it. The Discovery is trying to repair its shield so they can go back to the nursery when they detect a strange anomaly. They scan and discover that a ship is using the transwarp tunnel technology that has a 50% chance of killing you. They attempt to hell it and receive the correct challenge codes like we see before, but it still isn't responding to communications. The crew discusses how dangerous using this alternative warp option is and wonder why. Some say that it may be the fight for Kaminar went bad. Tilly would have OO scan the area around the ship, showing that it isn't Federation. She says the line that we see in the original story. Ultimately, that Osyraa would want both the dilithium and the Discovery. After this, she would then order to activate the spore drive. Osyraa's ship drops out of the tunnel right above Discovery, the wake of its exiting hitting the vessel full force. The Discovery takes the hit pretty badly, and Tilly orders red alert. She tells them to go to evasive maneuvers and open fire on the enemy vessel. Discovery does fire its weapons, but they are largely ineffective. The captain then gives the order to go to warp and repair the spore drive. Osyraa's vessel follows the Discovery, which is now trying to limp away. We can still have this brief standoff between Osyraa and Tilly, giving her a bit of tit for tat and showing her to be a great captain. Ultimately, Osyraa fires on the Discovery, hitting a nacelle and knocking it out of warp. As Tilly orders the self-destruct, Osyraa beams her people aboard and takes command. It'll take a little bit longer, but the spore drive is ultimately repaired and all of the crew is thrown in the brig, except for Tilly, who is kept on the bridge. Osyraa is sitting in her chair mocking her, and Tilly happens to look down or behind Osyraa, where she notices a panel that seems to have a screen glitch. At this point, we're going to see what we saw before with Saru when the advanced AI or consciousness or whatever it was started talking to him. There's no audio, but text begins scrolling. The text would say something akin to, "Don't worry, Captain. They have us exactly where I want them." Osyraa would see that Tilly is distracted and turn around to look at the panel to see nothing there. Tilly wouldn't say anything, and Osyraa would go back to bloviating before the ship prepares for the spore jump. We then cut to Burnham, who sees both ships utilize the spore drive, and roll credits. Again, if I was writing it, this is how I would have done it. At the end of the day, Captain Tilly really made some bad mistakes, but the Emerald Chain was at the top of its game. But all of these are my opinions. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.